What up, guys? Welcome to another vlog. So today I'm going to be talking about my old music and music that I still listen to, but in general, just my part of my music library. So we're going to be talking about, I'm going to go over bands and what I like about them. Today we're going to do rock. So I grew up listening to my father listening to rock and my uncle listening to rock. I probably started grabbing my own rock music about 9, 10, 11 from them, but I had been listening to their rock for a long time. So I'm going to go over my favorite rock band of all time. And, you know, people could definitely argue that there's better rock bands, but I'd say the rock band that got me through the most and got me through a bunch of different things and different times, and they've done gone over a lot of different issues, but there's definitely people that could be argued are way better instrument players and way better singers and all that, but I love them, is Disturbed. Disturbed's my favorite rock band. His voice is amazing. The Sickness album, it's one of my favorite rock albums of all time. The guitarist for Disturbed is probably one of the most underrated guitarists in my opinion. He's quite brilliant. The way that their drums align and everything, and his voice, he's definitely got one of the best rock voices. Definitely in the top 3 for me, for sure. And then I'm going to move on to some other bands. But just as a quick reminder, I believe it's Sickness. Sickness is my favorite album, and the second favorite album has to be 10,000 Fists. Yeah, for those two. So check those out. Then we're going to move on to, so my next person is Maynard. And you have Tool and A Perfect Circle. Now, Maynard is a straight up genius. I don't agree with everything that he says in his music. I don't agree with a lot of his politics. I don't agree with a lot of the actions he's done, him as a human being in certain things, but in other areas I agree with him, and regardless, he is a musical genius. So I would tip my hat to him for that. A Perfect Circle and Tool have gotten me through a lot of hard times. I love Tool, and I love A Perfect Circle. If I had to choose one or the other, I don't know. That would be really, really hard for me to do. Really hard. I don't know if I could do it, but I guess if I absolutely have to, I think I would choose A Perfect Circle over Tool. I think I would have to. He also has Pussifer, but I don't really listen to that. It's not really my thing. Emotive has to be my favorite A Perfect Circle album. It's a great album. You should go check it out. And 13 Step, and they just came out with a new one. And off the new one, I forget if it's called Eat the Elephant. I think it's called Eat the Elephant. Walking Down by the River, Walking Down by the Road. It's one of those, something like that. That song off the newest album, that's my favorite new song from A Perfect Circle. But in general, you gotta go check it out. You gotta listen to Pet. You gotta listen to Blue. There's so many good songs from A Perfect Circle. You gotta check all their albums out. Check them out. Tool, favorite Tool album has to be 10,000 Days. And honestly, a lot of people would probably say The Pot is the best song off that album. I would have to say off that album, The Pot, when the album first came out, was my favorite song for like the first 3 to 4 months. But then after that, I'd have to say my favorite song off that album is actually Right Into. I think it's the most underrated song on that album. Right Into really gets you going. It's a really brilliant song. That song is so good. And what's cool is my dad got me into Tool and A Perfect Circle, and my uncle got him into them. Well, when 10,000 Days came out, their very first concert was in Sacramento area, and I got 2 tickets. And I told my dad, hey, just, he had never seen Tool. I was like, hey, don't have any plans for this specific day. I need you to drive me down. I was living in Auburn at the time, or Grass Valley. I was like, you need to head down and pick me up and have the whole day free. So he picked me up. I didn't tell him. I just told him where to drive, left, right, gave him directions. Didn't tell him what we were doing. And all of a sudden, we're pulling in with a bunch of vehicles into this arena. And he's like, are we going to a show? Like, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, we're going to a show. I got us tickets. It was his, I forget if it was close to his birthday. I don't think it was. But it was the very first live concert, as far as I know, if I'm remembering this correctly. It was the very first concert after the 10,000 Days album came out. So we were one of the first people to listen to the 10,000 Days album live. And we were pulling into the parking lot, and all of a sudden there's Tool t-shirts everywhere, and Tool pipes and Tool this everywhere. And he's like, no way we're going to see Tool, because he hadn't got to see them live. He had gotten to see, I think, A Perfect Circle and Nine Inch Nails and a whole bunch of other bands, but I think he had never got to see Tool live. So we go in, and they just ripped on the 10,000 Days album, and it was beautiful. Also, a couple years later, I was living in San Francisco, and over in, I don't think it was Oakland. It might have been the city next to Oakland. I forget. But A Perfect Circle came, and I took him to that. And we got there early, and we were right in front of the stage, and I don't think Twiggy, the guitarist from Maryland, and that also works with maybe Nine Inch Nails and A Perfect Circle, I don't think Twiggy was the guitarist at that concert, but whoever was guitaring for that show, they threw one of the guitar picks into the crowd, and it landed right next to my dad. My dad goes to pick it up, and this ridiculous girl put her foot over it. My dad lifts her foot up and grabs the guitar pick and is like, haha. I'm like, no. No. And they were a bunch of groupies too. These 2 or 3 chicks were just groupies. You could tell they weren't singing along with any of these songs. They were just at a rock concert, eating up over, they were just groupies. They were just there for the scene. They didn't care about the music or anything. And then my dad, someone who got me into A Perfect Circle, who we've listened together for years and years and years and years, pertains to he sits there and he gives the pick back to her instead of keeping it for himself, or give it to me or his younger brother who showed him A Perfect Circle. Oh my God, I was like, what, really? I can't believe he did that. Anyways, that was an awesome show. That was the first time I got to hear Passive live, which is Passive. Yeah, I believe it's Passive. Passive is my favorite A Perfect Circle song. But yeah, so check out anything Maynard has been a part of. Pretty much go check out. So next band would have to be, let's talk about Korn. So I've been listening to Korn since they came out. There's some members in the band that are kind of assholes and I don't agree with, and I've heard are dicks in real life. I've personally never met any of them. I love all of Korn's albums. I can't really say which one is my favorite. I'd say somewhere good to start for you if you've never listened to Korn is definitely got to just go get Greatest Hits, because it's got the Life, it's got Issues, it's got a bunch of really things on that album. And Korn, just like a lot of the rock bands I listen to, my favorite rock bands are obviously stuff from the late 90s, early 2000s, alternative rock with somebody that uses some electronic music usually in with it, and has a very emotional message. To be honest, nowadays, there hasn't been any rock bands I could name off tons of rock bands from my era of the stuff that I like that are all unique, have their own sounds, and ways and things about them, but nowadays they all sound like garbage, in my opinion. There's only a few that I actually listen to that have come out in the last decade, basically. But Korn, cool concert that I got to see them for, was the craziest thing. So I Bass Nectar is one of my favorite electronic artists, and he grew up listening to rock, highly influenced by rock. You can hear it in his music. He someone, I don't know how it happened, but someone hit him up. There was a rock fest in Los Angeles, in Orange County, and Korn was going, and a bunch of other rock bands, and they got Bass Nectar to open for Korn. And I had already seen Bass Nectar tons of times, right? And I had been a fan of Korn's since the beginning. And then I had seen Bass Nectar in concert many times, and I've only been a Bass Nectar fan since like 2007, 2008, almost towards the beginning of his career. And he opened for Korn, and he like did a remix of Nine Inch Nails' Closer. He did a remix of like a System of a Down song and everything, and made it really rocky. And then Korn came on. That was a phenomenal night. Gotta go check out Korn. System of Down, since we just talked about them. System of Down, I've only got to see them once in concert, just like Korn, unfortunately. Very unfortunate. But the listening to old school Hollywood in the desert, when that album came out, and all those songs on that album, I was living in New Mexico at the time, and Chop Suey, and I went through a bunch of stuff when I was 16, and very, very music helped me get a lot of that out, and System of a Down was a big, big part of that. So System of a Down, all their albums are good. If I had to choose one, I don't really know. Probably that album, and for some reason I can't remember the name right now, but it has Old School Hollywood on it, and BYOB. Yeah, gotta go check them out. So, funny story, I was living in San Francisco at the time, and I was with Metro the Getro, and I was going in to pay my bill, and there was a rock radio station right outside. So I go, and I'm walking in to go pay my bill, and they're like, hey, you want to sign up? You can maybe win tickets to go see a band. And I'm like, well, what band? Because I'm not going to sit there and fill out this form for something more than likely I'm not going to win at all. And they're like, System of a Down is having a concert like about an hour away from here. And I was like, wait, what? Because I knew at the time System of a Down had broken up. So they had broken up, and the lead singer went and did a solo album. And I'm guessing what happened, this is just like the way I look at it, because I didn't read up. I don't follow all these bands like religiously at all. Is he probably told his little brother and the rest of the bandmates, like, hey, you guys stop doing drugs, get your shit together, and I'll come back and System of a Down will be back together and we'll go back on tour. And that's what happened. Anyways, a month later, 2 weeks later, I get a call, and then the radio station's like, hey, you won tickets to System of a Down. You won 2. You just got to come by our office and pick them up. And I had never won anything ever before. Still this day, that's like winning a prize of some sort that didn't involve like a sports skill, like something that was just random. That's my biggest win. So I went down to the radio station, picked up my tickets. Once again, my dad was in the area. Didn't tell him again, just was like, hey, have this day off. Like, I need you to take me on this. I need to go do something. And all of a sudden we roll in and we go to the System Down concert. And it's funny because you could tell all the bandmates had been sober for a while because they all had big old guts and they didn't look all strung out on drugs and alcohol. And they killed it, man. Oh my gosh. System Down was so great. And one of the greatest things is Out of all the mosh pits I've ever been in, and I've been in Lamb of God, I've been in Slipknot, I've been in Slayer, I've been in, you know, a lot of pretty hardcore mosh pits before. System of a Down is the best mosh pit I've ever been in. So the problem with Slipknot, the problem with Slayer, the problem with Lamb of God and all these other bands is the fans. Okay? Not talking shit on all the fans of these bands. I'm just saying in the mosh pit, they're just there to hurt people, and they're not there for the mentality. They're there to be dicks. They're there to just vent, and not vent in a respectable manner. It's like if you go into a dojo and you're going to do a sparring match, when somebody taps out, or there's certain rules, you know, like of fighting, like, or whatever, a lot of those concerts didn't have any of that. System of a Down did. Okay, so check this out. This is the most intense mosh pit that when anybody ever went down, guy, girl, young, big, fat, doesn't matter, walk, shape of life, everyone was hella hardcore in the mosh pit at System of a Down. But as soon as somebody got down, everyone stopped for a quick second, made sure that the person was okay and they knew where the hell that they were, and got them back on their feet, and either they continued moshing or they got pushed to the edge of the circle and was out of it so they could, you know, go like taking in. Because, I mean, taking elbows to the face, you know, sitting there like getting knocked to the ground, you know, black eye, but even though how hard it was respectful and it went hard. So that is probably one of the coolest parts of going and seeing them, is if you want to be in the mosh pit and have people there that aren't going to sit there and just beat you while you're down, go check out System of a Down, because that's how it went. They're phenomenal. Next thing, I guess let's go into Slipknot, since I just talked about them. Slipknot's one of my favorite bands. I've been listening to them a lot recently again, trying to get pumped up and stuff for work and other things. I don't know. Before I forget, maybe my favorite song. It's gone back and forth between a few songs. I really like Slipknot. Slipknot was ahead of the curve for me because I don't like rock bands that just 24/7. I like that with melody. So the fact that he can do both and sit there and write really good lyrics, sing beautifully, and then scream beautifully, and make it all mesh together. And man, that drummer, dude, he is something else. I've only got to see Slipknot twice, but man, they're to me, like, I've seen a lot of bands, and you know, some of them come up short when it comes to actually playing live and sounding very much like themselves. Tool and Slipknot are not one of those bands. Whether it's a 3-minute song or a 6-minute song, and just slamming on drums and the bass and the guitar and just going, never missing a beat, Tool will do that, no problem. And Slipknot will do that. They are on it at their concerts. They do a really good job. Like I said, though, their concerts, they put on a good show, but a lot of the fans can be just a little ridiculous and overwhelming, which is why it's not that fun, to be honest, like, to go mingle too much or be anywhere near the mosh pit for a Slipknot concert, because it attracts too many dumbasses. Anyways, gotta check out Slipknot. Go get pumped up, lift some weights, go rock out, go headbang, go do some intense ass sports, and they're still today the best rock band to ever do the hardcore singing with melody. You know, there's As They Lay Dying, they have 2 singers and they do it, and there's some other bands, but I think Slipknot still got the cornerstone of that market, and they're brilliant. So go check out Slipknot. The next band, rock band, I guess let's go into Godsmack. I love Godsmack. You know, they're I guess you could say they're kind of like maybe more like Disturbed as far as keeping their original sound for years on in, which they've done. I haven't really listened to the new Godsmack album, but love Godsmack, and the tribal drums from Godsmack will always warm my heart. Gotta check out Godsmack. They have a lot of good songs. It might not be some people's style. I still listen to them. I still enjoy Godsmack. Godsmack's like the main thing. Like if you're ever going on a long road trip, especially if you're going through the desert, I've listened to a lot of Godsmack driving through the desert. Definitely a good album to just chill, throw on while you're cruising. Next band that we'll go over is Rammstein. I've been listening to Rammstein for a really long time. Like, dang, dude, like 20 years. Just like a lot of these other rock bands, just a really, really long time. My favorite album, Resonant. Resonant has to be my favorite album. Yeah, there's too many good songs on that album. So Resonant's my favorite album. If you gotta go check out an album from Rammstein, go check out Resonant. The next album I would say Rise Rise, and that has my favorite song from Rammstein on it, Amor. You gotta check out that song. It's kind of maybe a little bit hard to find, but if you could go listen to Amor, that's a really good song. You know, two songs that they're probably most famous for is Du Hast and, you know, America. But they've been around for a really long time. Once again, the drummer from Rammstein. Just one time I would love to be there at a live concert and just be sitting right next to the drums while that dude's going off. The drums in that band are so amazing, and the lead singer has a really cool voice. And you know, Rammstein's a really cool band for me because I never listen or like go figure out. It's all German, except for I'd say 10% of their songs are in English. Maybe more than 10% of their songs are in English. I'm not really sure. I'm just throwing that number out there. And then they have some songs in Spanish, but most of it's in German. And, you know, maybe like some more hardcore Rammstein fans have gone that are English speakers and gone and seen what all the lyrics have said. I don't do that, and I will never do that. I chose, when I started listening to them a long time ago, I thought about it, but then I was like, you know what? I already have this thing where I use and twist the lyrics to meet something for me. So I might even change lyrics or have the meanings be different for me to pump me up and make me feel good. And Rammstein's a perfect way to do that because I don't speak German. I can sing the songs fluently in German. Have no idea what I'm saying, but I just use the words to have my own meaning, like I'm having my own language, even though it's German. I use it as my own language and take my own words and put them in, and the words, you know, are something completely different. But I can build my own songs basically out of their songs and get pumped up. So that's really cool. There's so many more rock bands that we could go over. I think I'm gonna cut it close at this. Maybe next time I'll go over more rock bands, and there's tons more that I listen to. It would just be a really, really long video going over all that. So I'm gonna cut it here, and maybe next time we'll talk about some different music. But I'll definitely come back to rock and give you some more bands and stuff. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what kind of stuff, rock bands you want to know about or music you want to know. Comment and like, share this video. And I will see you guys at the next vlog. All right, peace.